Hello and welcome to Channel England Football. My name's Gaz and this is going to be my first of a regular, now weekly Sunday upload regarding news on the England national team. Like I said, this is going to be the first episode and today we're going to be discussing AIDY Boothroyd'S replacement. Now he's left the under-21s or going to be leaving the under-21s. We're going to look at some of the favourites for that. And then we're also going to look at Wembley getting an extra place at the Euros. Now check out my last video because I discussed actually in that how important that could actually be. But without further delay, let's get into it. So once again, welcome to the channel. My name's Gaz, and first I'd ask you to like and subscribe this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel dedicated to the England national team and only the England international team. Check out my previous videos. This is my fourth video now, and like I said, this is hopefully going to now become a weekly thing. So every Sunday, I'm going to try and upload around Sunday anyway. Weekly news regarding the national team, so whether that's injuries to key players, any breaking news that week. So yeah, the first week, which is today, and we're going to be discussing AIDY Boothroyd'S replacement now that it was announced actually about a week and a half ago that he's leaving, and Wembley getting an extra place at the Euros. Now, I think where we'll start actually is going to be Wembley. Now, if you did see my last video, but if not, check it out after this. But I discussed England's last 16 ties. So basically, anyone who doesn't know, England are obviously joining the group with Croatia, Scotland and the Czech Republic. And all of those group games are going to be at Wembley, which is obviously a huge benefit to us as a national team. It's basically a home tournament. However, if we get all the way through to the final, there's a potential of 2 games where we play away from home. The semi-finals and finals are at home, when I say home, Wembley, and the group stage matches are at home at Wembley. But the last 16 tie and the quarter-final ties, potentially we're going to be away from home. I think the last 16 time is going to be in Dublin. And then the quarterfinals, I'm not quite sure, but I still think that's going ahead. But the key one is the last 16 tie. And like I said, if we finish top of our group, and the fact that we've got home advantage in our group, I would expect us to do so. It means that within that last 16 tie, we face the group of death, which is either Portugal, France, Germany, or I think it's Hungary. So obviously we can discount Hungary. I'm laughing now, so you watch Hungary get through, but I feel like we can discount Hungary. But then that leaves the possibility of France, Portugal, or Germany in the last 16. So if we top our group, we face the runner-up of that group. Now, I was saying in my last video that we've got to, England beating a big team at a tournament is still something we haven't done. Now, what has happened is, because it was Dublin who was supposed to host 4 games during this Euros, and they've lost all their games now. And what that's meant is Wembley's now gained an extra place. So one of those extra fixtures is England's potential last 16 tie. So, I was talking about in the last video how significant that last 16 tie is, because if we get through it, we are really knocking out one of the favourites for the tournament. And then almost after that, every single game is then going to be at Wembley, including the semi-final and final. So if we now win this if we top our group and get through to this last 16, we've got the prospect of facing a top team at home in a major tournament. This is going to be England's best chance in a generation to knock out a big team at a European competitions or any international competitions. And we've got to take this now. I now put this as England becoming second favourites, maybe even third. Like I said in my last video, I think France and Portugal favourites. Obviously, you can never discount Germany, given the fact that even if they're playing badly, if they qualify and if they're in a tournament, they're in with a shout. Same as other teams like Italy, Spain, But England now, it's almost, we could potentially be in the Euros and only play 1 game away from home at Wembley. So it is essentially a home tournament for us. And, like I said, a load of YouTubers recently have been uploading squad picks, and we've all been struggling about squads. We can see the depth that Southgate has got. So it's got to be England's time. I mean, how on earth, if we get through our group stage, we've then potentially got a mouth-watering tie at Wembley against France, Germany or Portugal. Now, as I said, 2 of those I think are ahead of us in terms of being favourites for the tournament. But I believe at Wembley, and I genuinely do believe this, we can beat anybody, absolutely anybody. I think away from home in a tournament, different kettle of fish. But at Wembley, I believe we can give anyone certainly a good game. This has got to be our chance. We have got to take this by the scruff of the neck. Honestly, I do honestly now put us as almost joint favourites for this tournament now, thinking about it. This is it. This is England's time. If we don't, this is the tournament for us to take by the scruff of the neck. Somehow it's been spread all over Europe, but we've essentially got a home tournament because all our games are going to be at Wembley. And it's just got to happen. You know, Dublin obviously wasn't going to be away from home technically. You know, it's relatively close, but to have it at Wembley against one of these big nations it's just so amazing. You know, it's fantastic news for the England national team. It's exciting for fans. The potential of getting. I know everyone's going to be like, you're getting way ahead of yourself, man. We're still going to beat Croatia and Scotland, but you know, because we're at home, I believe we are going to top the group, and that means we are going to have this last 16 game at Wembley. And what a fantastic opportunity. You know, what great news. When I saw this break earlier in the week, I was like, you know, it was a bit like, oh, Wembley could get an extra place because there was insecure, wasn't sure about Dublin, but then boom, it came through, and Wembley has officially got this extra place. And then they're talking about, because I think stadiums had to guarantee like a 25% capacity. Dublin couldn't specify that. I think neither could Bilbao, so their games have moved to Seville, so rather weirdly in the same country. But with Dublin, they've lost theirs completely, so we're an island, so there's nothing in there. So that means you know, there's going to be at least a 25% capacity Wembley. But then the FA, I've been reading, are you know, trying to push for 50%. I mean, that would be fantastic if we can get 50% of fans in the building for that game. And it's just such a good opportunity for England. I mean, I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait now for this tournament. It is, you know, it's exciting. It's going to be, you know, we've got England-Scotland on the Friday afternoon, I believe. We've got potential mouth-watering match against one of the top teams in the world at a major tournament at home. You know, he's got this exciting squad of players. You know, bring it on. This summer cannot come quick enough. I mean, seriously. And it is going to be now make or break for Southgate. You know, if he's got all these games at home, I do think it puts a little bit more extra pressure on Southgate. I think if we get through to the last 16 in Dublin and get knocked out by France or Portugal or Germany, I think people are going to ask questions, but it's not going to be as strict now. It wouldn't be as strict as if it would be now we're at Wembley. Now we're at Wembley, fans are going to expect us to really give these teams a game and to almost, you know, and get through. You know, I do think this puts extra pressure on Southgate. I think if he doesn't get through this last 16 tie now, he loses his job and he's not there in the World Cup. But that's going to be for another video. But this is England's time. You know, come on, England. Let's have you. Home tournament. We're going to potentially have the quarter-final away from home. But if we get through Scotland, Croatia, and then that last 16 tie against one of the big nations, we're going to be flying high. Confidence is going to be through the roof. And, you know, who wouldn't we want to be? You know, if we beat France, Portugal, or Germany in the last 16, England will fear nobody. Let's get that right. It doesn't matter who's in the quarterfinal, semi-final, final. We will not fear anybody. And then once we get through that quarterfinal, if we do, we've got the semi-final and final at Wembley. It's got to happen. You know, this is the best chance since Euro '96 of winning the Euros. And you know, this is hopefully, you know, please, I'm desperate to see England win a major tournament. At a tournament. So come on, England. Now's the chance. Let's have you. Now that brings us nicely onto the next bit of news. Well, it's a little bit old news, but I didn't cover it at the time. So AIDY Boothroyd, as we all know, is no longer going to be the England under-21 manager, which is fine. You know, AIDY Boothroyd, he's done. It's a funny one, the under-21s, because we qualify for tournaments, and a lot of people might think, well, so what? But trust me, it is very difficult in the under-21s to qualify for any tournament. There's a lot of big nations that don't qualify for tournaments anywhere near as often as England do. You know, a lot of the under-21 tournaments are a lot smaller, so there's only a small amount of teams there. So the fact that we qualify in itself is a huge achievement. Under-21s, it's almost the equivalent of a last 16 or quarterfinals anyway. So, you know, obviously, though, when you get there, England fans expect you to do better. And obviously, in the last tournament, we just didn't do it. However, AIDY Boothroyd, you know, I remember him coming out at the time. I think he did say it's an impossible job. You know, anyone who's any good ends up going through to the senior team. And then he ends up having, you know, quite a small pool of players. Having said that, you know, he should have done better in his time. AIDY Boothroyd, I think it's important with the under-21s that he's not going to be someone who's going to come in with a lot of demands. You know, they're very much going to be second fiddle. They've got to understand that. They're going to be missing players quite often, you know, more often than not. And I agree with AIDY Boothroyd. It's a very difficult job. So I see the role as an under-21 manager to support the senior manager, to make sure that England players from a young age play the way we want to play in line with the senior manager, so that by the time they do get progressed through, you know, they're used to a system or used to a, you know, a philosophy. I know people like that word within football, but I think that's important with St George's Park as well. Everyone there together. I think that, you know, that's the key point, and that's where it brings us on to, you know, the favourite, as we like, to replace AIDY Boothroyd. So, you know, we've got a Justin Cochrane. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, because, like you said, from all the news articles, nobody really knows who he is. You know, he is a former player, young player. He's a young manager. I believe he's in his 40s. He's 49 favourites. I think he's managed the England under-18s before. So I think the FA like to employ within, don't they? I mean, you look at Southgate, look at Boothroyd. You know, England like to, they like their men and they like to stick with them. So he's 49 favourite to be the next under-21 manager. And even though I've never heard of him, you know, that's fine with me. Because, like I said, I don't think we need a big name. Because the next name on the list, you know, I've got the top 5 here. So you've got Justin, and then you've got Frank Lampard at 4-1, Eddie Howe at 8-1, Chris Wilder at 10-1, and then Gary and Phil Neville at joint 12-1. Now, for me, Frank Lampard, it's not the job for him. You know, I think he was unlucky at Chelsea. I think he needs to go, you know, to another club, maybe back into the Championship, and I see him potentially as a future senior England manager if he carries on the way he's going. But, you know, he's done okay where he's been, but he's probably not lived up to the expectations. Eddie Howe, I think no chance. I feel like it'd be a step down for Eddie Howe. You know, he's a top English manager. We want him back in the Premier League for me, and he really is a potential England manager for the future. And I don't think the under-21 path for him is the best way. I feel like he needs to still be cutting his bread within the Premier League or the Championship. You know, he's a brilliant manager, a young manager. So not for me. As much as I think he's a fantastic manager, I don't think the under-21 route is the best way for him. Chris Wilder, again, you know, I just think it's a safe option. You know, what is Chris Wilder offering that the other guys don't? Bit old school as well. So, you know, I think we're past managers like Chris Wilder now. Not for me. And then Gary and Phil Neville, no chance for me. Gary Neville's had more than enough chances with the senior squad under Roy Hodgson and even as a senior player. So for me, Gary Neville's, you know, he's not done it for England at any point, in any system, in any format. So for me, no chance. And Phil Neville, I think he did a shambles with the English women's job. So I think the England women's team are much worse off now than what they were when he started there. But again, the FA like to employ people they know, and they both know Gary and Phil Neville quite, you know, really well, actually. So I'm not surprised that they are high on the list, but they're certainly not there through any achievements with the England national team. And I think that's quite disappointing to see that they're quite high on the list, because I think it just shows really what the FA is about and where the criticism from the FA can come in. You know, you've got two people there who's really let the FA down and the English national team down over the years, and yet they're still 5th favourite to become under-21 manager, which is bizarre. But for me, Justin, you know, let's get him in. Let's get him, but you know, this could be a potential England manager for the future. I've never agreed with this, like employing big name managers, never mind under 21. I think when we come to look at replacing Southgate, I don't want a huge name manager. You know, other nations don't do it. You know, no one can tell me that they knew who the Spain managers and Italian managers and the German managers like Joachim Low who was before they got the national jobs. And it's just, you know, it's not always about big names. You know, I don't agree with that at all. As long as it's a football person, and then obviously they've got the coaching badges and they know what they're doing. I don't feel like international jobs need to be big name people. But Justin, he sounds like the guy. You know, he is in with the England under 21s, under 18s before, and obviously they've had quite successful recent history. So he would be the guy for me. Particularly because I just think the other guys are just names on a list. Really, I don't see why they'd be any more suited, and I'm quite perplexed actually why they'd even take the job. Particularly Frank Lampard and Eddie Howe. You know, surely they've got, you know, they're already a level above. I think under 21 managers at a national level, it's very much part time and not a lot going off. But and playing second fiddle to Gareth Southgate, you know, these two I see them as potential senior England managers later on in life, but I see them being that if they stay within the Premier League and Championship and start learning the trade more and getting that experience. So for me, you know, AIDY Boothroyd is sad, not sad. I mean, under 21s, like I said, I think it's as long as they're working with Gareth Southgate and supporting Gareth Southgate, I don't care who it is. Again, with England 21s at tournament, I know there's this argument, you know, you take your best players, but at the same time, you know, if they're good enough, get them up to your senior levels. You know, let's not waste them time in the 21s. And winning trophies at under 21s is brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I want us to win World Cups and Euros at under 21s and under 18s and whatever. And it was fantastic when we won those youth World Cups a few years back. But the senior level has to take priority, and if we can get people in the senior set up quicker and more used to playing at senior level, I believe that's better for their development than playing under 21s. And particularly if they're good enough now, you know, why hold Jude Bellingham back, for example, when he's cutting his bread in the Champions League week in, week out, and playing good football. So, you know, AIDY Boothroyd, it is an impossible job. I agree, in some extent, a very frustrating job, I can imagine. But let's get someone who's going to support Southgate. From what I'm reading, Justin is the man. So yeah, that's that. Moving on, you know, potentially could he be the England senior manager? I don't know. You know, I'm not going to be one who doesn't. Again, I'm not going to moan at the FA for picking someone I've never heard of, but he's got to prove it. You know, and same as anybody, you know, I don't want them picking names. I don't want them picking someone who's the easy option, which I think, let's be honest, all going back, Gareth Southgate was the easy option. And none of us, there's not an England fan here that can admit that they wanted Gareth Southgate as the England manager when Sam Allardyce messed it up all that time ago. Everyone thought, you know, boring Southgate's not going to do anything, but he's done a good job. Now is the tournament, though. Like I've said earlier in this video, he's got to do it at this tournament, otherwise I'm afraid he's really at risk. This tournament may actually, though, start to show his inexperience and lack of qualities. I don't know, you know, but he's done a good job so far. I can only judge him on what he's done so far, and so far he's done an alright job. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, AIDY Boothroyd leaving. They're the key people in line to replace him. So that's Justin Cotrain, Frank Lampard, Eddie Howe, Chris Wilder, and Gary and Phil Neville. They're the top 5-6 favourites to replace him. Hopefully we'll get an announcement soon, but I doubt it anyway. Probably later on in the summer, actually, we'll probably get the announcement of that. And the FA is certainly in no rush. But yeah, so that's it for this week. So like I said, this is going to be a weekly thing every Sunday. I'm going to try and upload news each week. Some might be longer videos, some might be shorter videos, depending on what's going off. We'll start to do some player watch and things like that. Particularly as we lead up to the Euros, these videos hopefully are going to have a lot to cover. So yeah, once again, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching my video. This is, I believe, my 4th video. So please let me know in the comments what you want me to cover, anything else you want me to discuss about, and let me know what's right and what's wrong. But give me your opinions and everything I've discussed as well. So thank you very much, and see you again next time.